Identity. What does it mean to have identity? What's the definition of identity? Identity is establishing or indicating who or what something is. Identity can establish one character or multiple characteristics of that said identity. What am I getting at, you may ask? Well, that's what I'm going to discuss in this video. Let's get into it.
Absolute peak of human perfection. But there came a day when giant quakes threatened to destroy Krypton forever.
6 schools in 6 years. I've activated my 6th sense for 16 years. Emperor of the sea, I've activated my 6th gear. I want to rule the world just like I'm Tears for Fear. I'm shifting gears. I went from hell and back across, and now I'm sitting Monica's pier. A battle with temptation, Hades never thought it was real. Oracle told me that she foreseen a snake on my sphere. Lucky I'm a son, I strike him down with Poseidon's spear. And when I'm inside, I strike them down with Riptide. No time for getting lost, no trees on this hillside.
What is the Sonic franchise to you? Why do you love this series about this blue cartoon hedgehog with super speed? The identity of Sonic the Hedgehog all started with 1991, where he was created both as a character and a franchise to break the mold of gaming. He was meant to compete with Mario, Nintendo's known mascot at the time. So SEGA wanted their own Mario, but a Mario that was different, that was cool, and dare I say, badass. And thus, Sonic the Hedgehog was born. He literally became a video game icon that is known for its identity of being cool. So again, I have to ask, why do you love the Sonic franchise? I'll first say how I got into the series, in a nice little tale of when I was a wee little lad. The year was 2007, and I was already into video games during that time with all the time spent on my Nintendo DS. This was before I had the Wii, by the way. I was already into Mario with games like New Super Mario Bros. And Mario Kart DS. But here's the thing though, Mario was my first gateway into the video game wormhole. And since I was 3 at the time, I couldn't play any of the big boy games like Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty Modern Warfare or BioShock. So, one fateful day, my mom bought me a game, and on the cover was a blue hedgehog who looked identical to Mickey Mouse and a purple female cat. Yes, my very first Sonic game was Sonic Rush. Automatically, my young 3-year-old mind was intrigued by this Mickey Mouse looking character on the cover. So, I popped in the cartridge in my DS, and little did I know that this character was going to change my perspective. As soon as the game starts, you hear Sonic saying the title of the game with this banger music that wasn't anything like Mario music. This music had a sort of flair to it, like this cool flair to it. I think I was jamming to the title screen for a while before actually starting the game. When I started playing the game, my first taste was Leaf Storm at 1. The music was energetic, the art style was dynamic and popping out everywhere, and Sonic himself was unlike anything I saw with Mario. Something about this blue cartoon hedgehog who was blitzing across those dual screens made me fall in love with the series. I completed the stage, but was struggling on my first try. When the results screen approached after the stage, Sonic started dancing. And in my mind, this was cool. Sonic as a character to me was cool. He looked like Mickey Mouse, yes, but he was Mickey Mouse with an edge. And was a hedgehog, not a mouse. I didn't play Blaze's campaign until later on, but she was cool as well, and it had crazy fire abilities. The more and more I played Sonic Rush, the more and more I've gotten a little bit better at it. After experiencing Sonic Rush for the first time, in my mind, I wanted to keep experiencing all things Sonic. That's when I came across Sonic X on Jetix. Yes, I'm that old. And this was my true experience with the full characterization of Sonic the Hedgehog and all of the supporting cast. The thing is, I knew who Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Cream were before watching the show because of Sonic Rush. It's here where I fully got to see them shine. Each character has their own quirks and style, especially my boy Knuckles. And this show also introduced me to other characters like Rouge the Bat and Shadow the Hedgehog. I was intrigued by the world building and these colorful anthropomorphic characters doing badass shit, because Sonic to me was badass. Later on around 2008, I had my first home game console, the Nintendo Wii. One of the latest Sonic games at the time on the Wii was Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. This was my first experience to the Sonic Riders series, and I was already into racing games with Mario Kart, but this was no Mario Kart. Instead of having the Sonic characters in cars, they had them on hoverboards, with the stages having this futuristic vibe to it. Each character was grouped into 3 categories: speed, flight, and power, and each stage had shortcuts catered to that character. So if you're picking my boy Knuckles, you can use a shortcut that will be able to let you smash or punch through stuff in your way. This game also introduced me to the Babylon Rogues, Wave the Swallow, Storm the Albatross, and my all-time favorite, Jet the Hawk. The story was fire from both sides, and was just simple Sonic stuff, colorful characters doing badass shit and a badass narrative, and I loved it. And it didn't stop there. I was watching cutscenes of previous Sonic games on YouTube, like Sonic 06, Sonic and the Secret Rings, and Sonic Heroes, and this is where I've gotten the full Sonic package. In terms of story and identity, the Sonic series was and always were cool to me. At the time, I saw a teaser for a new Sonic game. It was a white background with Sonic whistling, flipping a ring, then it pitched dark with a monstrous hand slamming the ring to the ground, with a link, quote, sonic-unleashed.com. So I typed in the website, and I didn't remember what was on the website, but I think it was a description on the new game called Sonic Unleashed, aka The GOAT.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Obviously, I was excited because it was a new Sonic game, so I was excited to experience it at some point. One day, I think it was at my cousin's house or something, he had an Xbox 360. He had the big boy games I mentioned earlier, but he had the GOAT, Sonic Unleashed. So he lets me play it, and the opening cutscene changed my f***ing life. It was in space. Dr. Eggman and his army of airships were ready for domination, until Sonic, in the fiery background, blitzing and destroying all of the robots, Madara Uchiha style, and Eggman trying to destroy Sonic. He grabs him, and then the Chaos Emeralds appear. Sonic going super, destroying Eggman's airship, and you know the gist of it. It was just Sonic being badass and snarky as usual. That's why I love Sonic, because the identity and core of it was cool, and that's why I loved it. The gameplay side of Sonic Unleashed was my first true 3D Sonic experience. It still uses the boost formula from Sonic Rush, but it was in 3D. I don't think I've ever played any of the Werehog stages, but I remember playing one of the daytime stages, and my lord, I was trash at it, but I still had fun. I was proud being a Sonic fan as a kid. 2010 came around, and my mom bought me Sonic and SEGA All-Stars Racing, the DS version, not the console version. And yeah, it was like Mario Kart, but you know what, I still had fun. And was my first introduction to other SEGA characters I didn't know, like Billy Hatcher, Ai from Super Monkey Ball, Amigo from Samba de Amigo, and Ulala from Space Channel 5. All the stages were remixed versions of iconic stages from the games, but I only cared for the Sonic stages. Also, I first experienced the classic Genesis games through Sonic Classic Collection, and I also had fun with it. It was different, yes, but I still had a great time with it, and introduced me to Sonic 1, 2, and my favorite, 3 and Knuckles. Even though there was no dialogue, I still felt that same cool, badass energy from Sonic, about him going around, saving animals, preserving nature, being a symbol of that free spirit and the wind. Now going forward, I never really knew that much about games like Sonic Colors or Sonic Generations, but those games in terms of narrative were a bit simmered down, and had a new voice cast / the current voice cast was a change of pace, and still is, to be honest.
It turns the dreams of the pure-hearted into reality.
So, someone could dream up anything, and you'd be able to make it happen in the real world? Interesting.
Oh, don't get your hopes up. She did say pure-hearted.
Huh? What does that even mean?
But it was harmless, right? No big deal. However, that magic that I felt for the series was slowly starting to decline. It was 2013. The 3DS was doing great, and the Wii U was still trying to find its way. But during that year, a new Sonic game was announced. This was coming after the success of Sonic Colors, and especially Sonic Generations. So I went on the good old YouTube and watched it and felt nothing but confusion. First of all, who were these Super Mario Koopaling rejects? And 2, why did everything feel and look like Mario? And 3, where was the boost? I was 9 at the time Lost World was announced, but because it's Sonic, I kept an open mind. But the more and more I saw details of this game, the less and less I was excited for it. And the game came out, I watched gameplay videos on it, and yeah, it looked like SEGA and Sonic Team wanted this to be a Mario game and not a Sonic game. Which is ironic, since they had a deal with Nintendo during that time. The story of the game was god-awful. Everyone felt so out of character. With Sonic being this wisecracking, annoying character instead of being naturally cool, Tails being a whiny crybaby from what he used to be, oh, and Knuckles and Amy were just there. The narrative as a whole was so stupid. That's okay, right? It was just one game. However, a port of Sonic Adventure 2 was on Xbox during that time, and I first experienced the game for the first time. That definitely filled the void of that god-awful Sonic Lost World. 2014 came around, and it was weird. One day, I was introduced with this image. What was going on? And apparently this was supposed to be a reboot of the Sonic series, aka Sonic Boom, with 3 new games under the belt: Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, Fire and Ice, and Shattered Crystal, and along with a new TV show. My confusion went up even more, and was just disappointed that the Sonic that I knew and loved was slowly losing its identity of what it was to me. And Rise of Lyric didn't make it better considering it was a glitchy, broken mess. So you know what? I decided to take a break from Sonic and focus on other games. I've gotten the Xbox One during that time, and I was finally able to play Call of Duty and experience Minecraft for the very first time. I was still playing Mario because somehow Mario was still growing strong. I took about maybe a 3-year break from Sonic, not really caring that much about what was going on. I didn't care about the whole Sonic Boom reboot thing they had going on. I couldn't care that much for Sonic Runners, which I low-key regret, by the way. It was just nothing for me to be interested because it felt like that Sonic I knew and the identity of Sonic was slowly losing its touch for me. It was around 2016 when I saw another teaser for the next mainline Sonic game. But was it anything Sonic Boom related? Yes, finally, we are going back to basics. Sonic is in this ruined city, boosting, giving that Sonic aura. Then this thing showed up, but it didn't matter. Next to having a teaser of a brand new Sonic villain who gave off Mephiles vibes. I remember pre-release people were making theories on this new villain in the infinity symbol. I felt like Sonic was finally back. Or so I thought. The game fully came out. I finally got a PS4 that Christmas with a copy of Sonic Forces. I popped in the disc and played it, and after playing it, I felt nothing. Literally nothing had me excited about Forces. When that teaser of Sonic running through Sunset Heights, I honestly thought that the epic storytelling and the badass aura of Sonic was coming back, but nope. In fact, it's just been more of the same shit since Sonic Lost World. The same confusing issues that I had with it. The story tries to portray a serious war, but has moments where it just fell flat on its face with the cringy dialogue.
It can't be! It's impossible to get out of the Phantom Ruby's null space!
Well, maybe by myself, but I had a little help from my friend. Something you wouldn't understand since you don't have any friends.
The gameplay felt underwhelming with the stages being 2 minutes long, and Classic Sonic felt underwhelming as well and very unnecessary to the game. The only good thing that I could say that I sorta liked from Forces was the Avatar and Episode Shadow. That was it. For the first time, I felt disappointed with the state of Sonic. We just gotten out of the Boom era. This was supposed to be a return to form, but alas, it wasn't. So I just moved on. But one day, I came across this very infamous video of IGN, and the whole
Sonic was never good,
quote-unquote, Sonic was never good statement. That statement alone had me heated at first, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Sonic's reputation and identity throughout the 2010s was putting the franchise in the trenches. At that point, I found out that over the course of the 2000s era of Sonic, the internet was making it a trend to bash on Sonic at every single turn. Of course, I was young at the time to understand this, but too ambitious or trying way too hard to be quote-unquote edgy. Did it always be this way? When did the true downfall of Sonic's reputation start to crumble? Was it Sonic Unleashed? Was it Sonic 06? Was it Shadow the Hedgehog? Was it even all the way back in the adventure games? Or did it start all the way back in 1991? Yeah, that's it. Sonic was apparently never good. Sonic should have never existed, was what IGN was basically saying. The 2000s era of Sonic became such a laughingstock that people started referring to it as the dark age of Sonic. And to me, that was unfortunate to know that the games that I grew up with, people didn't like. So, what was Sega's response to this? Strip everything down from what makes Sonic's identity appealing, even all the way down to the characters themselves, which became a trend of Sonic's stupid friends, which is why they became such background characters in games like Generations, where they acted like literal cheerleaders for the main character. And the stories themselves became so watered down and rely on humor rather than substantial storytelling that gravitates fans young and old. I couldn't care for Team Sonic Racing because all the stuff I was hearing about it, the game feeling like a neutered version of the previous two entries by reusing the same stages, and the story being so lame and boring. Like the series was hitting rock bottom, all just to appeal to people who don't even give a shit about the series. And it doesn't stop there. Because the final nail in the coffin for me was that terrible trailer of the first Sonic film. And yeah, I was finally done. Goodbye to the Sonic that I once knew and loved. But wait! Somehow, in the blink of an eye, Tyson Hess grabs his pencil and redesigned Movie Sonic to make it more accurate and less of an eyesore. And thus, the second trailer was born, with Sonic looking appealing and cool as ever. That was the first time in a while that I was actually excited for something Sonic related. I saw the first movie and felt something. Now, it wasn't anything spectacular. I mean, it was just a buddy cop movie with Sonic, but my god, was it something, and was happy that we had a great live-action video game adaptation that was a Sonic movie. So, kudos to Paramount for that. However, throughout 2020, I wouldn't say that I've fully gotten back into the series just yet, because Sonic's identity to me was still in shambles, in terms of the main series of games that is. We were in the biggest drought until we finally got some game news. A Sonic Colors remaster was announced, and a teaser for the next mainline Sonic game, which was the same as Forces. I wasn't that much hyped because we haven't gotten any gameplay from it, but according to the leaks during that time, it was an open world Sonic game. Even though it was a leak, I was interested because I always wanted an open world Sonic game, because Sonic would work in an open environment. The game fully got the title Sonic Frontiers, and still no gameplay, but I was interested but cautiously optimistic. Gameplay was finally shown and was underwhelming because it looked like Sonic Forces Open World Edition. I was slowly giving up hope at that first impression until the Summer Game Fest trailer came along, and I was actually excited because it felt like everything that I loved about Sonic. More and more of the game was shown, and I kept my optimism. The game fully released, and I felt something, and it was joy. The story, despite its issues in some areas, was actually good in a lot of areas. Ian Flynn wrote the story for Frontiers, and for the most part, I still think he did a good job. The gameplay, despite some of its issues and lack of polish, was really good and was a step in the right direction for Sonic in the open world. Oh, I mean, open zone. The soundtrack had variety. Do I really need to explain?
Okay! Wow! Oh my god!
And on top of that, the sequel to the Sonic movie was phenomenal, introducing Knuckles and Tails and the Chaos Emeralds, adding more elements from the games to the movie. Freaking Super Sonic! This gave me hope, not just from the movies, but from Sonic Frontiers as well, because it felt like the franchise is finally straying away from that 2010s mentality and bringing the series identity back, from telling an impactful story and having Sonic not be a wisecracking meme lord every 5 seconds, but having him be badass again. Like, I wish I could experience that Giganto fight for the very first time again. It felt like we were on the right path, and it didn't stop there. 2023 came along, and yes, we had stuff like Sonic Prime and Sonic Superstars, but the thing that had me interested the most was the updates for Sonic Frontiers, especially Update 3, by having Tails, Knuckles, and Amy as playable characters. What? multiple playable characters in 3D, we haven't seen that since '06. This gave me the indication of them straying away from the 2010s mentality of Sonic's friends are stupid and just letting them be great. Sonic Dream Team was also doubling down on that as well, with having Rouge and Cream be playable again. The Final Horizon update came, and I didn't think I've talked about Final Horizon on this channel, so I'm just gonna sum it up completely. The update for the most part was alright. It's basically an expansion of the already existing problems with Frontiers, but underneath all those problems, I honestly had a good time with it. Look, listen, Sonic Team, if you guys are listening, never ever again do a boss rush like the Master King trial. I can't. To be honest, I was just happy to play as these characters again in 3D. In the update, they gave us a brand new Super Sonic form that looked badass, by the way. And not just that form, but a Cyber Supersonic form as well. And had Sonic fight the End Supreme in the most epic way possible. This is what I like from Sonic. Just having that aura and that flair to him that's been missing. I felt reeled back into this franchise again. The Sonic franchise was slowly gaining its identity back, and as we're on the horizon of Sonic X Shadow Generations and Sonic Movie 3, I'm like, yes, we are finally out of the trenches. I am fully convinced now. Shadow Generations is the epitome of giving the things that didn't work in the past a second shot, and embracing what the identity of Sonic is. Like bringing back Black Doom into the series after the backlash of Shadow 05, or bringing back levels from Sonic Forces, or bringing back a villain that was introduced in the game that caused a major stain of the series. It's all about embracing those things, and that's what SEGA and Sonic Team are doing. They're standing their ground and regaining the series identity back all in a span of 2 years. And I think you have the movies to thank for that, because the Sonic movies were a huge wake-up call to SEGA and realizing people still care about Sonic as a franchise. And if they keep sticking to their guns, then I have no doubt in my mind that they will fall back into that same mentality they had during the 2010s. And that's why I think the Sonic series regained its identity back in a span of 2 years. Thank you. If you guys made it to the end of this video and you guys liked the video, give this video a huge thumbs up. And if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. And also make sure to follow my socials as well. With that being said, have a good day, have a good night, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.